Leon Spinks was a heavyweight boxer who experienced his ultimate career high when he defeated Muhammad Ali to win the World Heavyweight Boxing Championship in 1978. Being named Heavyweight Boxing Champion of the World by winning against a man who he grew up idolizing, it sounds like the thrill of a lifetime. After the fight, Leon Spinks praised his opponent, saying of Muhammad Ali, "He's still the greatest. I'm just the latest." And you know what he was late on? Child support payments. Let's get into it. But first, if you like these videos about your favorite and most scandalous celebrities from yesteryear that make the Ty Said What Ty Said channel a time capsule for the culture, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can know every time that I upload one of these videos or every time that I live stream, and comment "I subscribed" in the comment section so that I can say hello to you. Now, on to why you are here. Leon Spinks Jr. was born July 11, 1953, in St. Louis, the oldest of 11 children. His father abandoned the family. Leon never really seemed to get over that pain that his father's neglect caused him. Even on the biggest night of his career, after winning against Muhammad Ali, he still had something to say about his father. He told Sports Illustrated this, quote, "My dad had gone around and told people I would never be anything. It hurt me. I've never forgotten it. I made up my mind that I was going to be somebody in this world, that whatever price I had to pay, I was going to succeed at something." End quote. You might notice that he didn't say he made up his mind that he wouldn't abandon his own children, but I digress. Spinks was definitely the underdog going into that fight with Ali, so it's only natural that he would celebrate that victory to the fullest. He wore his championship belt around his waist in his hotel room that night. It's good that he enjoyed himself because he would never wear another championship belt again. But back to his victory. You know that he had to buy a few things with that prize money. Pay close attention to this. Among other things, he bought a Lincoln Continental, 2 Cadillacs, and thousands of dollars in jewelry. Here's what he had to say to Sports Illustrated about his spending. Quote, "People don't like the way I spend my money, and that hurts me. They don't understand that I ain't never had nothing, so I've got a lot of catching up to do." End quote. Well, there was someone who understood all too well some of the catching up on spending that Leon Spinks needed to do. Zadie Mae Calvin was the mother of his sons, and she knew that he needed to catch up on his spending in the form of child support payments. On the day that Leon Spinks fought Muhammad Ali, Zadie Mae already had 2 of his sons, and a mere 5 days after that fight, she gave birth to their 3rd son. Why she had a 2nd and 3rd child with Leon, I cannot explain, because here was her situation. She had a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and now a newborn child along with herself living under her mother's roof. Various other relatives were living in this small, crowded house in North St. Louis in a bad neighborhood plagued with poverty and crime. I told you some of the things that Leon bought with his prize money. I didn't tell you that he also bought 2 houses. I bet that either one of them would have been more ideal for his sons than where they were living. But that offer wasn't on the table. But Leon had another big payday just around the corner, so maybe he would do right by his children with the next multi-million-dollar prize payout. Later the same year, there was a rematch between Muhammad Ali and Leon Spinks. But it seems that Leon's first win against Ali made him too cocky. Ali was coming to reclaim his throne and not playing any games. But Leon decided to train half-heartedly. On the days leading up to the fight, he drank alcohol late into the night. And even though he was in his first marriage to Nova Spinks, he also spent those nights leading up to the rematch fooling around with women who were not his wife. And he burned through his cash. Relevant side note, the wife had a son from a previous relationship for whom Leon was providing, even though he was doing nothing for his biological children. If you didn't already know the outcome of the rematch, by now, you may have guessed that Leon Spinks lost the second fight to Muhammad Ali. Yes, Leon Spinks got to fly high as the heavyweight boxing champion of the world for a whopping 7 months. But that loss was still a heck of a payday for Spinks. He received $3.75 million. So he celebrated. The rematch was in New Orleans, and let's face it, that city makes you party. So Leon danced the night away in a downtown hotel. And to add to the list of things that Leon would spend money on, how about a lot of alcohol and booger sugar? Here's what his bodyguard, who later became known as the actor Mr. T, said about Leon's partying and spending. Quote, "He partied and partied. He drank and drank. He smoked and smoked. He snorted cocaine. And boy did he get high. I mean, he would be so high that he would be foaming at the mouth, and he was a sight to behold." End quote. The book, One Punch from the Promised Land, describes Leon Spinks' behavior after his loss to Ali as burning through the last of his millions. But even if his mind was made up to spend it all, that spending still didn't include anything on his 3 sons. His children's mother, Zadie Mae, was chronically unemployed and always financially strapped. Before some of you even start, because I can see the comments coming now, the point of this video isn't to say that Leon Spinks was responsible for taking care of Zadie Mae. I'm sure that we all are wondering why she decided to have a 3rd child with a man who wasn't taking care of his first 2 children. But I am saying that as a millionaire, he had options. He could have petitioned the court for custody of his children. There were ways to make their lives better, even if he didn't want to help their mother. But the truth is, he had become another version of his own father who had abandoned him. Leon Spinks had no presence in the lives of his 3 children. So, after still getting no help from the millionaire father of her children, 3 weeks after Leon's rematch with Muhammad Ali, Zadie Mae Calvin went back to the St. Louis Circuit Court to file a paternity suit again. She asked the court to declare Leon Spinks as the father of her 3 sons, who at this time were aged 9, 6, and 1. And she also wanted the court to order him to pay her a just sum periodically. She dropped the lawsuit when she finally felt like she was getting cooperation from Leon, because he told her that he would just start paying her monthly support payments. But, surprise, surprise, he didn't stick to his word. She would hardly ever get those payments. When he could send the money, he didn't, and his spending got so out of hand that eventually he just couldn't send the payments because he had no money left. If you believe in karma, maybe you'll say that's what Leon Spinks got after not keeping his word and paying to support his children. You see, shortly following his loss to Muhammad Ali came the beginning of a long, steep descent for him. For starters, he would never wear the championship belt again. Those 7 months were it. Then, in 1979, he was knocked out in the first round of a fight in Monte Carlo by South African Harry Coetzee.
In the blue trunks with the gold trim, Leon Spinks, United States on the right. He came out as if he was looking for a quick knockout. He kind of reminded me of the way he went after Bobby. Leon jumping pulls this shot. Spinks goes down for the first time. Oh, he's hurt and wobbly. Leon Spinks up at the count of 6, 7, 8. And right back comes Coetzee. Another good right hand. Spinks is down for the second time. 3 knockouts. Rule will be observed in this championship fight. Elimination championship fight. Spinks, if he goes down
Then, 2 years later, in 1981, Spinks had climbed back into contention and met Larry Holmes for the heavyweight championship. The fight stopped in the third round because Leon Spinks was being beaten mercilessly. Then he lost weight so that he could compete in the cruiserweight division, only to lose a title bid to Dwight Muhammad Qawi in 1986. That fight was the literal definition of adding insult to injury, because during that fight, Qawi was taunting Spinks while he was also relentlessly beating him in a corner. I watched that fight as part of my research for this video, and it was brutal.
Again, the Spinks family behind us giving Leon excellent advice. Let it go. Let his hands go.
Best flurry of the fight for Leon, who landed 2 left. And now Qawi is sticking his tongue out of him, taunting him. You can't hurt me. And Qawi came back with the right. He is laughing at Leon Spinks, but so did Muhammad Ali. That, of course, was a different time and place.
And for the most part, Leon Spinks would spend the rest of his career losing fights to opponents that most people thought he should have been able to beat easily. Leon briefly tried professional wrestling and lost by submission to Antonio Inoki. In 1994, he lost a bout by knockout to John Carlo. This loss would mark the first time a former heavyweight champion lost to a boxer who was making his professional debut. After that 69-second fight was over, Spinks told the press, quote, "He caught me off guard," end quote. However, Leon failed to explain what, exactly, he was expecting from a man coming at him wearing boxing gloves in a boxing ring. Finally, Spinks retired at age 42 after losing an 8-round decision to Fred Hoop in 1995, who was coming off of a 17-year hiatus. Embarrassing loss after embarrassing loss in the ring. And he was taking losses outside of the ring too. After he lost that fight in Monte Carlo in 1981, Leon Spinks broke into a closed hotel bar, causing so much damage that his manager received a bill for $12,000. And a little later that same year, he was robbed in Detroit. Muggers took his $45,000 fur coat and his false front teeth. Leon Spinks racked up one drunk driving arrest after another. And when his money ran out, he lived in a dank room at a boxing gym. In a very short span of time, he went from living a fairy tale to becoming a cautionary tale for what too much pride and recklessness will do to a life. Do you think that the quick, steep downfall of Leon Spinks was his karma for not caring for his children? Or was it all just unrelated bad luck? Let me know in the comments section. It is worth noting that at some point in their adulthood, it appears that Leon patched up things with his sons. But of course, those matters are rarely well documented. And it is sad to say that one of Leon's sons preceded him in death. In 1990, Leon Calvin was shot to death in East St. Louis as he was driving home from his girlfriend's house. He was an aspiring light heavyweight pro boxer with a record of 2-0, with his 2 professional fights occurring only 1 month before he died. If you want to see another story about a prominent figure who had his own paternity suit issue, you can check out my video about Lou Rawls here. I will also post a link to it in the description box. My sources for this video are One Punch from the Promised Land, Leon Spinks, Michael Spinks, and the Myth of the Heavyweight Title by John Florio and Wheezy Shapiro. Mr. T, The Man with the Gold by Mr. T. The Washington Post, Daily News, The Baltimore Sun, The Chicago Tribune, and Jet Magazine. If you want text notifications so that you can get a text 15 minutes before I release a video or 15 minutes before I live stream, simply send a text to 786-632-2135 to let me know that you want text. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Ty Said What Ty Said channel. Please leave a thumbs up and comment so that we can get a discussion going. And share this video on all of your social media, especially your Facebook. That really helps me out a lot. And subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can know when my next video is ready for you. And if you don't like what I'm saying, but you love it, feel free to hit that applaud button just below your video screen there and send me some
donations.
Yeah, baby. See you on the next video.